Hey guys, Pieguyrulz here, and welcome to the final Nick or treat of this year. I'd love to be able to tell you that we're gonna go out with a bang here, but we're not. It's an all grown up episode. Curse my compulsion to do everything in chronological order. And yes, I had to cover it. My parameters are anything between Rugrats and Avatar, and All Grown Up sadly falls in between there. Even if this episode aired when Avatar was almost over. And so, here we are. The episode is called TP+KF. Chucky thinks Tommy likes his sister, which ends their friendship. Oh gee, I wonder how long that'll last. Well, let's just take a look at this episode's running time, shall we? Let's see, if the episode's 22 minutes, well, you gotta imagine they gotta have a few minutes there for an ending, so I'm gonna say probably 19 minutes, and they'll become friends again. You have to be very careful when doing a story like this, so as to not make the characters unlikable, and make the plot seem obvious and boring, and this episode really didn't do much of that. To be fair, there's at least a little bit of a twist in that it was Kimmy that wrote TP+KF on the garage wall, but that's really not that big of a surprise. And it also makes Kimmy look like a jerk for not coming clean earlier. This episode is just filled to the brim with Chucky whining and moping. There's just nothing fun about it. Like, I've seen episodes of SpongeBob where SpongeBob and Patrick's friendship is at risk, and they manage to make it seem interesting and unusual and strange, and they have fun with it. In this episode, it's just honestly a little bit too realistic to what it's like to lose a friend. And not like, oh man, they really captured what it's like being a tween. More like, yep, you're gonna lose friends, and it sucks. Also, after so many episodes of Rugrats, and even All Grown Up at this point, it's just kind of weird to see Tommy and Chucky not be friends. There is, I guess, a legitimate reason for this. If Tommy was having a relationship with Kimmy behind his back, that would be pretty deceitful. But as a viewer, just seeing Tommy and Chucky feuding like this just feels off. Oh yeah, this is a Halloween episode. You really wouldn't know it by reading any plot synopsis. It comes into play because Tommy and Chucky were supposed to go trick-or-treating in this one two-person costume, and of course, because of their feud, they can't do that. That's it. Well, aside from the B-plot and a running gag about everyone thinking Phil's dressed like a used car salesman when he's supposed to be a spy. I'm okay with the episode's focus not being on Halloween, but there really should be some reason to utilize Halloween. I mean, I get that tween romance is pretty scary, but really, this isn't the best use of the holiday. And this is the third All Grown Up holiday episode I've reviewed, and I haven't been thrilled with any of them. Though so far, The Finster Who Stole Christmas is the best. This episode just doesn't work. It doesn't work as a comedy, it doesn't work as a drama, it doesn't work as a Halloween special, it just doesn't work as anything. There's also some foreshadowing early on about how there's these scary older kids that run around and terrorize the younger kids, but that never actually ends up happening, so I don't know why it was there in the first place. I will say, though, I do kind of like Chaz's subplot, where he's trying to protect his house from being TP'd again this year, and it turns out that it was Phil and Lil's mom that's been doing it the entire time. But that makes up a very small portion of this episode. I wouldn't recommend this episode to anyone, not even the most diehard of Rugrats or All Grown Up fans. It has very little to do with Halloween, and seeing Tommy and Chucky fight is just more of a slightly annoying downer than anything else. On the upside, though, this episode does end with something incredibly scary. I mean, a lot of kids had nightmares about this. I'm talking about the Klasky Csupo second logo. You know, the weird splat face thing that's like, Klasky Csupo. I'm sure some of you know exactly what I'm talking about. That thing was freaky. But still, that's not a good enough note to leave things on. How about I give you a little bonus review? Here's the episode that should have been the Halloween episode. Curse of Reptar. After a lot of bad things start happening on a dark and spooky night when the kids are left alone, Chucky believes that Reptar is haunting them. I'm not going to say this episode's brilliant, because really it's not, but it's definitely good. It does two things very, very right. It's a dark night where the kids are left alone. The TV goes out. There's this green ooze coming from the shower and the floor and the basement. The characters themselves are terrified and believe in a curse. You see why this would have made a better Halloween special? And this episode has a lot of continuity nods to Rugrats. Considering it was a spin-off of a highly successful and loved TV series, you would think they would reference or make jokes at the original series a lot more. I remember there was an episode about Cynthia, but I think that's about it. But anyway, this episode has the Reptar Jr. doll re-emerging. Chucky mentions that without Reptar, he would have never met Kimmy or her mom because they went to Reptar Land, which is a reference to the second movie. He also mentions how Reptar was their first movie. He mentions how Reptar was their first ice show, and Dill even makes fun of this. And to top it all off, at the end of the episode, Tommy has a dream, or perhaps even a memory, of him, Chucky, Phil, Lil, and Spike, as babies, and slightly younger dog, all hanging out in the backyard, playing with Reptar. And it looks genuinely like a Rugrats episode. They didn't change the design of the characters or anything. Seriously, have you ever seen what a baby looks like and all grown up? It's really jarring to see that compared to what the babies looked like in Rugrats. It also has themes of growing up and perhaps shedding some of the things you did as a child, but also realizing that you can hold on to some things and memories will always be there and blah blah blah. There's also a Yu-Gi-Oh reference. The movie they're gonna watch is called You Gotta Go. In fact, the episode I probably remember strongest from this series was the episode You Gotta Go, where Chucky became addicted to trading cards, which in no way mirrors my real life events. But now we're pushing 3 episodes, so I should probably wrap things up. The Curse of Reptar is a decent Halloween spooky episode, and I certainly recommend it if you're a fan of Rugrats and haven't seen it before. It's got a nice little nod to the original series while still being a plot in and of itself. And that, my friends, is Nick or Treat. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I certainly did, and there will probably be a recap up next week, just talking about some of my favorites and least favorites and just what this whole reviewing process has been like. As for right now, I should probably take off this makeup. Being in costume for 17 days is probably not the smartest of ideas. Pieguyrulz, out.